Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Our first item on the agenda is we have a special guest, Ms. McMunn, teacher and robotics coach for the high school. Is here to present to us a presentation on the robotics team this year. Thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me. I brought toys. I'll show you some stuff. Okay, like I said, my name is Mike McMunn. I'm a teacher at high school, and I've been here for 4 years. And every one of those 4 years, we've actually made it to nationals, which was, I thought, pretty good. 4 years ago, it was the first time I had ever really done Z-Perch before, so the kids helped me out quite a bit because they've done it in junior high, and we just kind of ran with it. So it's been a pretty good 4 years. We've had some pretty good successes, so this year is no different. We sent 2 teams this year to Mount Vernon. USI puts on the regional. There's 2 regionals in the state. A lot of the teams are from over like the Springs Valley area. There's a pretty big region over there with a lot of schools with Crane Naval Base that sponsors a lot. Down this area, we don't have many high school teams. I think there's only maybe 2 or 3. But of all the teams in the entire state, we actually scored the highest. I want to say the top 2 teams were both Posey's teams. So these are our freshmen this year. I inherited them from the junior high, and these guys did very, very well. Their first year out, they were very scared, and they came in and scored the highest in the state, and they've done really great work, and every single one of them is a freshman. So they're pretty excited. So I've got Abby Bale, Rhett Orpert, Brandon Cook, Ian Rice, and Paige Patterson. And I want to say 4 of them are in my engineering class this year. A lot of the skills that they use in Z-Perch they get from engineering from junior high and also freshman year. And I'll show you some of that today. But they did pretty good work. Every year, the United States Navy started Z-Perch probably about 10 years ago. And every year they have 2 different competitions. One competition's kind of like they would take an ROV, which is what you're looking at here. It's a remotely operated vehicle. They're all underwater, and if there was something like a shipwreck, you can't usually send people down to see what's in, to try to see where people are to save them. So they start developing ROVs to go down and do it safely. So they started this with high school teams and kind of gone down all the way down to 6th grade. Every year they have the same competition where they go through obstacles underwater, they go through 18-inch rings and come back. But then every year they also have a separate, unique competition. This year was designed after last year. I don't know if you remember, there was some high school students from a soccer team that got caught in a cave in Thailand. So they designed the entire thing this year off of that. They kind of designed a setup that would show if an ROV came through, it would have to do different tasks throughout, setting up a beacon as a signal. So this year they actually used magnets, which have never been done before underwater for ROVs. So they go down and hit something that looks a lot better than this. We designed this with a 9-volt battery. It's all underwater. They go up and touch the target, and the light comes on. So it's a lot harder than it sounds, but they were able to do that. One of the few teams that actually had a working magnetic arm on it. They go down through there. These balls are supposed to represent food and water and different things they would take to the kids. And then also they have, kind of hard to see, but they have little white, like a robot that's broken in half. And those are supposed to represent the students. They would bring the kids back to the beginning. So it was a whole series, sort of like an underwater cave where they'd have to maneuver around and try to do different things. Our kids didn't score the highest that they could. I think they could have got 45 points. I want to say they scored 17, but this year was super hard. Doing everything underwater in under 15 minutes, maneuvering around all the different places, but they did really well. in correlation with all the other schools. So I was pretty proud of them. This is kind of what they usually make starting 6th grade. This is the basic idea for middle school and high school teams. This is what they make, but we go one step further and go open class, which allows them to do whatever they want to do. So you can see there's a lot more wiring on this. They've got a camera down here on this side, which shines down so they can see what they're doing underwater. And we usually get a lot of compliments on cameras because we don't see that very often. I want to say we're the only school in Indiana that does that. And we have some, when we go to nationals, we usually see maybe 1 or 2 other teams. So we're one of the few that do that, which makes life sometimes a lot easier and sometimes a lot harder, trying to watch the camera and then watch what's going on underwater. And then on top of just building it, they design everything, they build it, they test it, and then a lot of after they start testing, they have to change a lot of things. It goes into a lot of problem solving. One thing that I always have them do, just like they do in class, they keep track of all the changes they make, and they make an engineering notebook. This is something that I teach in the freshman level. With every project that we do, they keep track of everything that happens in the project, and you can see most of that here. They have all their constraints that they must follow, and then they start coming down with some ideas of what it could be, changes they like to make. And this year, we're lucky enough to have an artist in our midst, so she's very good at what she does. So they actually had to put all that together. They'll show this at the event, and then I know we've done this in the past, but if this scores in the top 10, we're also invited to give a presentation to a board of maybe, I want to say captains, and they're pretty high up there, but it's a neat opportunity for students in high school to get dressed up, go in front of this board, and give a presentation about everything they've done in the past. I know we scored, I want to say 3rd a couple of years ago when we won nationals. This year, we don't know what we've done so far. We'll find out hopefully in the next few weeks, but we're preparing for public speaking and showing all this stuff off. So this year, we're going to the University of Maryland, which is kind of nice. We've gone to Georgia Tech and Dartmouth in Massachusetts, and also down to LSU. So it's nice going to different universities around the country. They get exposed to kind of what life's like after North Posey, what's possible. They get to meet up with some college students, some college professors, students from all over the world, not only high school and junior high students from the United States, but I want to say last year a team from Puerto Rico won. There's a lot of different countries that send kids. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. So here at the end of the month, we'll go for that. With school ending, there's a lot more time now to practice. So we've already signed up some times for Mount Vernon this coming week to go practice in the pool, and looking forward to it.
Thank you so much, Mike, for everything
Yeah.
you do, as far as coaching, helping the kids
Oh, it's a lot of fun.
pull this off. Yeah.
So which way is that? What's the front and back on that?
That's a good question. It really doesn't matter. They think of this as the front, looking at you now. That way they come up and hit that beacon, the magnets are right there. But sometimes they have to go down, and going down isn't as easy as it sounds. There's a motor that makes it go up and down, but it's not always the strongest. So sometimes they have to kind of swirl around, maybe go upside down and backwards. So anything they can do to get it to go down.
So are those tubes open on the front? Would they not like fill up with water? Or
They do,
is that part of the engineering?
That's one of the things they had to work with. Whenever they first put it together, you never think of having holes in it because you want to keep it airtight. But they found that if you drill holes in it and keep it all open, the water comes in and it becomes more neutrally buoyant. It'll go down a lot easier. If they want it to float, they can cap those all off, but a lot of times that's it. It's at the top.
Makes it more stable.
Yeah. So full of water, it'll sink a little bit. They add these pool noodles on just to give it some balance, which is another kind of a nice thing for a freshman team to look at, is where do you put these? How many do you put? If it's not working, I know a couple years ago, middle of competition, it was not going down because the pool was salt water, and they hadn't practiced in salt water. So they had to come up and like snip some of these off. Still didn't work. They changed where they were, and they finally got it to go down. And that was nearly one.
That's pretty cool though.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
That does get a change.
And it gives them, they never think about, being grown up enough to do that, to think that they could do that and make decisions and go on the fly and try to change things, but they do a pretty good job.
So tube propulsion, propellers forward
Yeah,
and
two.
backwards,
Two front and back.
and then one for up and down?
Mhm. I think the rule is on junior high and high school, they can only have three. In open class, we can have more, but then that's just more power you take from the batteries, they don't work as well. So they tend to keep this. I know our upper level kids wanted to have another motor that would just go back and forth. That way they can put, not only have something to go up and touch the beacon to turn the lights on, but also leave something there, because you get more points if you leave the light on the whole time. So if you can design something to leave there, then you get more points. It's a lot harder though.
So how long do they work on this? I mean, is it like a whole school year or?
Yeah, they beg me starting day one in August, and I usually keep them till October. We'll start meeting regularly in October, working with soldering and a lot of the skills that I never learned. Dave Kaler taught me soldering last year, I think. Some basics. I had a student a couple years ago teach me some more, so I show what I can, but after that, they kind of do it all on their own.
And then is this part of the class or part of a club
No,
or?
it's just club after school. You know, we just call it robotics. And I know in the past I've had kids do VEX robotics, which is another type using plastic and metal bolts and things, and they just build robots out of that. This is something that they get to compete more on a larger scale, so they tend to like it a lot better. This is very ugly this year so far. They're going to fix this, but they design their own holder that way they can watch the camera view the whole time. So I've had different things they build, but they came up with this, I think, the day out, because they noticed it was really hard to have one person hold it or have them hold it. So they just designed that the day of competition. Yeah. So soldering is one skill that they pick up, which is not something that a lot of times high school kids will learn, but it's something that could come in useful. I know Mr. Fisher was impressed. He came down one day and saw us soldering. I guess he soldered a lot in his life. So.
I guess this is one example where like gaming come in handy.
Absolutely. I don't know if you remember Abby Abernathy. She graduated 2 years ago. The pool is here. So you can see the robot, what it's doing for the most part, and they have the camera. She would sit on the floor and just watch the whole time. Just watch her screen. And she did outstanding. So to each their own.
That's amazing.
You did a great job.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yes.
appreciate your.
It's nice because it's very cheap. I know that, I mean, all set in, we bought the cameras a couple years ago, but there's maybe $20, $30 in this total. I know with First Robotics, something that some of my kids are pushing me toward. I mean, we're talking tens of thousands a year. So it's a lot easier to manage this financially. They raise their own money through working concession stands, things like that.
That's
Thank you
awesome.
very much.
Thanks.
Thank you for
Well,
coming.
we look forward to hearing that you,
Me too.
the good news to come, right?
Yeah.
I've been working on at least one of the principals at the elementary school. I'm hoping that we can maybe start a sixth grade team. So the youngest you can do is sixth grade, so you can have an elementary school represented. And that would be 4 more teams that we can have, 2 at each school. So that's kind of where we'd like to move in the future. Get some of our kids, the freshman kids this year, going to the schools and kind of mentoring the other kids.
Yeah, awesome.
So do you drive the bus to Maryland?
No,
Or-
no, I'm taking the van that day.
Okay.
I usually take the van to nationals, that way the kids will ride with their parents and then
Oh, okay.
get hotel rooms.
I wondered about the transportation.
It's, this year is 12 hours, which isn't too bad. Last year was 18,
Oh,
so there was no way.
mhm.
So the kids will get there on their own?
You know, I have opportunities, they could stay on campus, the University of Maryland, if they wanted to. I think they pay a little bit more, but they have all the meals and lodging provided. Parents can do the same. So it's just kind of up to them. If they want to do that on campus, they can. If they want to do it on their own. The Abernathys pulled up in an RV one year.
Oh, well, there you go.
Whatever works.
I like it. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the patron comments, of which there are none signed up, nobody here. We'll mark that as such. Next item is our approval of the minutes, claim docket, and consent items. We're entertaining a motion to approve those for the minutes of the April 8th and May 1st, the claim docket for the April 8th and May 13th, and the consent items as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent items.
Second,
I'll second it.
so the motion by Mr. Oakley and seconded by Mr. Schmidt to approve the minutes, claim docket, and consent items as presented. Any other comments or questions?
I have one question on the lights for the tennis courts and softball field. Is that a repair, I guess? Page 10
On the
of
claims
the
docket.
claims, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have that in front of me. I know we did have,
So I've heard some folks talking about the softball field having problems. I don't know if that's now been fixed.
we had mounts come out and fix, was that 2 mounts?
Yes.
I'm not looking at
Yeah,
it.
was 2 mounts.
Yeah, they came out and replaced light bulbs and ballast and the low level lighting throughout.
Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries forward. New business, Mr. Ritter?
Yes. First item of new business is a discussion of our proposed bond issue, and tonight there's several steps to be taken. First of all, we're going to open this meeting up for a hearing on the proposed lease execution as well as additional appropriations for the construction projects. First item is the notices that have been published in the Posey County News on April 9th, 2019, and Mount Vernon Democrat on April 10th, 2019. I have the proofs of publication, the publisher's claim, and affidavit in my hand. In my opinion, these conform with law, and I would ask the board to approve these items, proofs of publication, in both papers.
So do we have to entertain a motion
We
to
need a
approve the
motion,
proofs and the publication.
Yes, I would ask at this time that for a motion to approve the proofs of publications for Posey County News on April 9th and the Mount Vernon Democrat on April 10th, of course, both in 2019.
I'll make a motion that we approve the proofs of publication and notices filed in the Posey County News and the Mount Vernon Democrat.
I'll second that.
Okay, is there any discussion or comments? Ask for, we'll call for a vote then. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So it's a 4-0 vote. I don't know if we had established for the record, but Amy Will's absent, so there's 4 voting members here, and this is a 4-0 vote. Okay, continuing with the hearing on the proposed lease. It's necessary, first of all, I would say that there's the proposed lease agreement involves the plans, specifications, and estimates for the school buildings to be constructed, renovated, and improved by the MSD of North Posey Multi-School Building Corporation. And these have been on file from the date of publication of the notice until today in the office of the school architect, VPS Architecture. So we have copies of the preliminary plans here at this meeting now. The board members have been informed and are very familiar with the details of all procedures that have been followed and familiar with all steps taken up to this point, including the proposed lease plan, the proposed lease plans, specifications, and estimates. If there's anybody here present that has questions, we'll be glad to answer them. You're gonna be presenting this in more detail later, isn't that right, George? Or you wanna do it now?
He's gonna be giving some detail on it a little bit.
Okay. So I would ask at this point, since there's no one here that's asking any questions, that we ask for a motion approving the resolution authorizing the execution of the lease and sale of the real estate to the building corporation. So I'm asking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution authorizing the execution of the lease and sale of the real estate.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Now we'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. I think it'd be appropriate to go ahead and just sign this now. This is Exhibit A. It's a resolution authorizing the execution of the lease and sale of the real estate. So this needs to be signed by the board president and vice president. Sorry, I got one. You want-
Amy?
Next, we have additional appropriation resolution, which we asked for the board to consider or move to that portion of the hearing. The additional appropriation resolution is in the form of an Exhibit B to the lease. And it allows for the additional appropriation not to exceed $7,500,000 for the purpose of renovation of and improvements to North Posey Junior Senior High School, including site improvements, the renovation of and improvements to North Elementary School, including site improvements, and renovation of and improvements to South Terrence Elementary School, including site improvements. So we're having a hearing on that now, and we'll be willing to take any comments. Since there's no one here to comment other than board members, we'll proceed to a motion to adopt the additional appropriation resolution. So I would ask for a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion, we adopt additional appropriation.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those who oppose say no. We'll show that it's approved by a 4-0 vote. Again, here is the additional appropriation resolution, which will be asked to be signed by the president and vice president. Okay, this concludes our hearing on the proposed lease and additional appropriation resolution. Next matter is Exhibit C of the lease, which is a resolution assigning construction bids and contracts once received. So I might just explain that that not all construction bids have been received and contract, but once they have been, and this board, the school board signs the contracts, they would need to be assigned to the building corporation. Building corporation will use the bond proceeds to fund such bids and contracts in order to complete the project. So that is the purpose of Exhibit C, to allow the school district to assign those construction bids and contracts that are appropriate for the building corporation. So at this time, I would ask for a motion to approve the execution of the resolution.
No motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded by Mr. Gentile and seconded by Mr. Schmidt. Is there any discussion? We'll call for a vote. Then all those in favor of the resolution assigning construction bids and contracts once received, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. We'll show it approved by 4, nothing but. And then signatures for the president and vice president. And we have a resolution. Next item is the improving of the master continuing disclosure undertaking. This basically requires the school, the MSD of North Posey, to disclose any matter which would materially affect their finances, and authorizing any board member to execute such, which would be the president and vice president tonight. So, is there any questions about this? If not, I'll just ask for a motion to approve the resolution approving master continuing disclosure undertaking.
Did we want to do on the minutes, we've got the amended and restated post-issuance compliance procedures.
I've got that coming
That's
up
fine.
next. It doesn't matter which it is. To me, the Exhibit D
We've
is
got them in one.
They're in line.
combined motion.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Exhibit E is the resolution approving amended and restated post-issuance compliance procedures. So, any questions on that one? We'll just do these at the same time, approving Exhibit D and E under one motion. I think you thought you got me straightened out, Mr. Schmidt. Is that what we need to do? Okay. Well, let's do this in one motion. So Exhibit D is the resolution approving master continuing disclosure undertaking that's been discussed. Next is Exhibit E, the resolution approving amended and restated post-issuance compliance procedures. So, go right ahead.
I'll make a motion that we approve the master continuing disclosure undertaking and the amended and reinstated post-issuance compliance procedures.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? That motion's been made by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mr. Gentile. We'll move to vote since there's been no discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We'll show that it passes on 4-0 vote. And now for the record, we will also read into the record that Mr. Gentile and Mr. Schmidt just minutes before the start of the meeting signed the lease, and the signatures were notarized by Carol Lufer. And this now becomes an effective legal document because of proper approval by the board. And it's now an officially executed lease. Mr. Gentile, I think that takes care of my portion of the meeting.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you for doing
You're welcome.
Next on the list, we have George Link here, and thank you for sitting over there and letting us get through this business. And you go ahead and present the information that. Let me pass this around.
Oh, no, that's just your house. I've got house for everybody. I just have a little difficulty getting the pages to separate. Okay, on May 7th, we received and opened bids for two projects. One was the lighting of the football field, and the other one was bleacher repairs to the home side of the football stadium and new bleachers at the baseball stadium. There tonight, I'm coming to you attached to the letter I just gave you, or the bid tabulation, so you can see how many bids were received and what range they were in on it. And tonight, I'm recommending to the board that we award the bleachers to Darmon Construction for the base bid and the alternate for a total of $262,000. The alternate is, in the base bid, the baseball field bleachers were a continuous U shape. And it required a post and steel frame construction to do that. I took an alternate to do 3 individual sections of angle frame bleachers, and it saved the corporation $67,000 to go that way. What it means is that the mitered corners aren't filled in. You have one section here, one across the backstop, and then one on the other side on that. So I'm here to recommend that, and you want to take these one at a time? Take both.
You can do them both.
Okay, and then the other bid, I'm recommending to the board that they hold on the football field lighting until we get the bids in on May 23rd for the other projects, the North Elementary / South Fair project, and then the junior senior high project, so we can see where we're at budget-wise with those projects.
At this time, I'd like to recommend the board to accept the bid from Darmon Construction Services for the base bid of the bleachers with the alternate totaling $262,000. And I'm also recommending that we table the lighting until the remainder of the projects come in. And once they do so, then we will sit down and make a decision on all the projects that are involved in the, except for the playground renovations at South Terrace. And
The bids are good for 60 days. They have to hold for 60 days. So
I'm recommending that the board make a motion to approve the bleachers at this time and hold on the football lighting. I think there was a question by one of the board members about the steps on the football field, so if you could answer that.
steps, as far as
On-
railing down the
yeah,
center,
yeah.
yeah, we
Sorry.
have added,
Not the football field, the bleachers.
we've added a center rail up the aisles, up and down the aisles, I guess, for assistance going up and down the steps there. Then we also added ADA seating area and an ADA ramp section to that as well. So it should put you in compliance. And one of the reasons we're recommending that tonight is we need to get the project underway, because if we don't get it done this summer, there's going to have to be some money spent to fix the bleachers and make them usable.
And that would be a waste of money. if we-
Yeah.
Okay. Well, entertain a motion to approve the the bids as recommended by Dr. Camp and EPS.
I'll make a motion that we accept the bid from Garmon Construction for the base bid of the bleachers with the alternate, and that we table the lighting bids at this time.
Second.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mr. Stock. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0.
Is there anything else you'd like to cover tonight?
No, if you,
No, I'm not gonna carry those around. But we are on track for the June 15th hearing on that. We got in all the final documentation that they wanted. The letters will go out to all the neighboring landowners, property owners, prior to June 1st.
Yeah.
On it.
and we'll post these,
And each-
in each building, so.
Okay.
All that. Thank you very much, Jordan. I think we have the schedule is, I think we have a pre-bid meeting tomorrow.
Yes, pre-bid meeting tomorrow for the North Elementary and Junior Senior High projects. Pre-construction meeting on Thursday and bid opening on the 23rd.
Yeah.
Of it, and then I'll be back for the board on the 29th to share that response.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jordan.
Thank you.
Yes, you.
Okay, I'd like to ask the board to approve the recommendations by Principal Kester and Principal Beckman to adopt the Wonders of Reading series for grades K through 5 and Study Sync for grade 6. A committee of teachers from North Elementary and South Terrace reviewed the textbooks and have agreed upon this choice.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve the committee textbook recommendation.
Second.
I'll second that.
So a motion by Mr. Oakley, seconded by Mr. Schmidt to approve the adoption of the Wonders of Reading series for grades K through 5 and Study Sync for grade 6. As recommended by Mrs. Kester and Mrs. McMunn. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries 4-0.
I'd like to recommend the board approve the professional leave request as listed. If you look at the top, it's Mike McMahon with his robotics team to go to Maryland. So glad he was here today to show off those skills. So that's the board approves professional leave as listed.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the professional leave request.
Second.
Second that.
So we have a motion by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mr. Stock to approve the professional leave request as presented by Dr. Camp. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries 4-0.
Okay, earlier today, I shared with the board on our Google Doc, a team drive that explains our STEM initiative. Our STEM initiative, we kind of scratched the surface this school year, but we'll be up and running full force this upcoming school year, the 1920 school year. There's a push from the Indiana Department of Education for schools to be STEM certified. Indiana has a plan that in 2025, 100% of the schools in Indiana would have STEM certification. Of course, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. So early second semester, each of our buildings had a committee put together and they did a self-evaluation of their current program or curriculum in regards to science, technology, engineering, and math. And then I met with each of the buildings and we put together a 3-year action plan, how they would go forward to receive STEM certification. Each of our buildings were basically you could tally an overall score, and they basically were between the 5 to 7 points difference between each other. So I thought we'd see more variance per building. So we're kind of marching along the same path more so than I anticipated. Each of their plans, how to go forward though, is unique to the building. There's some areas that certain buildings were stronger on, so they want to finish out that part of it in year one, where others might have chosen another path to complete next year. But our goal is for in 2022 to be STEM certified, all buildings. We might have some buildings that'll be STEM, apply for STEM certification in 2021. However, hopefully all will be in compliance then in 2022. We received a $50,000 digital learning grant, and with these funds, it's solely for the purpose of professional development and developing the curriculum for your STEM programs. In agreement for the $50,000, I have agreed that the school corporation would be a model school. I would be a consultant for the state. If people would want me to go into their schools and make recommendations, or they can come to our schools and see what we are doing going forward with this. So what I've listed on this report are just some of the upcoming events that we have scheduled. Some have already occurred this school year, some are going to happen this summer. June 17th, we have a SIUC presenter coming, and she's going to work with the North Carolina teachers to map out the science curriculum in grades K through 12. We already have went through that mapping process for our math curriculum as well as our English curriculum. So this would be science. And with that digital learning grant, the teachers will receive a $200 stipend for their efforts too. We also have the Project Lead the Way curriculum adopted. Project Lead the Way now will be a K through 12 program. We have offered that for many years at the high school, and then 3 years ago expanded to the junior high. So now we're going to expand it to the elementary schools. We have 2 third-grade teachers, one at North Elementary, one at South Terrace, that have agreed to go through the training, and then they will train the other teachers second semester. That's how that will work. We're developing a K-12 engineering pathway, and Mr. McMunn is going to help us develop that. Basically, what we're looking at is taking the Project Lead the Way curriculum and those units that have to do with engineering standards will be taught in kindergarten. We'll have the teachers at least do those lesson plans, and then the other type of lesson plans that they want to use at their grade level would be up to them as far as meeting standards. But we are requesting that they do at least one engineering unit, and they'll be able to pick from the units from the pathway that Mr. McMunn and I, as well as some administrators and lead teachers, will create. As with the curriculum, that curriculum, it's a working document. So this first year, we'll be adding things to it. For instance, if robotics would be offered at the 6th grade, those type of things. Also, and I do want to say that Mr. McMunn, for his consultation, would also be paid through a CTE grant. Any CTE labeled courses, we have a new CTE fund, $22,000, where the teachers can either receive training or get certified. So you'll see a lot of the high school as well the junior high teachers going to some of these Project Lead the Way trainings. And so if you see that CTE funding, that's not the typical funding we get per course that the kids are taking, our students are taking. This is an additional new grant that we received this year. So it's nice to see an initiative that there's actually some money going towards it at the state level. Also, that we have summer development as far as creating an engineering pathway. We also have the 2019 construction of the STEM labs going on soon, hopefully. And the Sling Studio, each of our buildings have a Sling Studio. Some buildings are up and running, more advanced than other buildings as far as the usage of those. But as far as the Sling Studios in connection to our STEM initiative. Of course, technology is part of the STEM initiative, but also for STEM certification, you have to have a way to showcase your work for the community. So we'll be using those Sling Studios to have a STEM corner where our projects will be displayed and shown or showcased to it. Do you have any questions for me as far as STEM initiative? You know, we've been all about technology and the integration of technology in the classroom over the course of the past 3 years. So this is just a step forward now. Over the next 3 years, we'll be concentrating more on STEM as far as curriculum goes.
Or the plans on the Google Drive.
The plans right now on that drive I just shared with you today.
Yep.
I thought I could also, with Dr. Camp's encouragement, create a file and put it in under our board team file. The only thing is if I copy it over, it's a working document. I don't know if all the updates would necessarily copy over. I'll have to ask Julie about that. Otherwise, I'll just give you a heads up if there's other documents in the STEM team. The documents in the STEM team drive, those include the action plans that each building created over the next 3 years, as well as all the documents and guidance from the state as far as STEM certification. No questions?
Thanks for the work on that.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the other one.
Okay, so, okay. Doing service report. Just wanted to update the board on our food service, food services. As you well know, our food service manager has put in and was approved for her retirement. So Dr. Camp had explained at an earlier meeting that we're kind of going down two paths as far as we've had a job posting for the food service manager, as well as we're in the bid process for a food service vendor to take over our cafeterias. Right now, I was contacted by 3 different food vendors that they have shown interest. Those vendors are Aramark, Southwest Food Service for Excellence, and Chartwell. The bid closing, or I should say bid opening, will be May 20th. Also, we've had, is it 4 applicants, or have we increased our applicants? Still 4 applicants. We've had 4 individuals apply for the food service manager position. Dr. Camp has made some contacts with those that have applied, just to make sure they know where we are in the process. Because you know, when you turn in an application, if you don't hear anything, you can become anxious. So he did make some contacts just to let them know that we're going to go through the opening on May 20th and then have interviews for the food service manager position after that, which will be around the same time we're interviewing for our other positions in the corporation. So lastly, we had a survey that went out to the students and parents. If you were in grades kindergarten through 6, it was a parent survey. The students in junior high and high school completed the survey. And it was a basic food cafeteria questionnaire. And the purpose of this was to make sure that some of the more popular or favorite meals, that whatever the change would be, whether it's in the manager or the vendor, that they know what our kids like, and we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, that we keep some of their favorites there whenever we start to expand our menu choices. So I do have the results of that. If you're interested in that, I can also share that as well. And that's all for my update. Do you have any questions?
So you put those results in our shared file, so you
Yeah.
can see that
Yeah.
on that survey.
Okay, just want to add one thing to the report. Just want to make it clear for the record that our school board belongs to the Indiana School Boards Association, and we received our certificate of belonging today. And so that usually sits up here on our wall, and I'll change that out and we'll get that up there, and it'll be back up there at the next meeting. So The next school board meeting, we need a special meeting, through some discussion. I think we, have agreed that, we will meet Wednesday, May the 29th, executive session at 4:00 and the regular meeting beginning at 4:30. And then the next regular board meeting will be June the 10th, executive session at 5:30 if needed, and then 6:30 the regular meeting. We'll probably still be doing a lot of personnel stuff with the comings and goings of teachers, and so we'll probably need it, but I'll let you know.
So probably at the May 29th, we would be making a recommendation. For the food service.
Would we get that back, I think it would be the June one.
Well, at least at May 20th, we can give an update on.
Yeah, we'll give an update on that, which direction we're going to go,
Mhm.
and then,
Or if you want to remember which one to send it to.
Yeah.
This thing.
Yeah.
Part of that process is we would choose a vendor contract, then we have to send it up to the Department of Education, and they have to approve it before we sign the contract.
and so that's all I have for the board meeting this evening.
Anybody else have anything for the good of the cause? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second,
Second.
we have a motion by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mr. Stock to adjourn. We are adjourned. Thank you.